Hello, hello, and welcome. Welcome to the Financial Sense series. This is our season finale. I find that song nice. I am your host, Judy McCutcheon. I'm an experienced financial educator, I'm a consultant, and a coach. And during this entire season, you would have heard me say that a lot of our challenges around money come from the things we have been taught as kids and the experience that we have had um, around money as children. In fact, studies shows that 80% of our mindset around money is formed by the age of 10. So I want you to kind of forgive yourself a little bit now because 80% of the mindset you have isn't really yours. So I have created the 30-day money mindset detox program. And this program is for the woman who wants to enjoy more. More freedom to be who she is, more freedom to express herself authentically, and more freedom to just live life on her terms, be who she is, that kind of thing. So, if you are that woman and you're ready to take control of your life and your finances, register for the 30-day money mindset detox program, which will be launching in March. Today, I am really excited. I am excited because it's um, the final show. But what I'm really excited about is not only the topic, which is money and relationships, but I have my sisters with me again. We started together and we're going to end together. So I have Monique Russell, and Monique is a communication expert. She teaches global leaders and teams on how to have positive and productive relationships at home and work using effective communication tools and strategies. She has worked for organizations such as the Center for Disease Control, Verizon, Intel, Equifax, the world's busiest airport, Atlanta, Hartfield Jackson International, and she's worked for Go Blue Inc. Truly international. And you know, you can trust Monique to help you with implementing your communication strategies because she has 20 years of experience in the science of communication, and she leads her company Clear Communication Solution, and which is an international training, coaching, and consulting firm. Monique, thank you and welcome.
Yes, Judy, I am looking forward to our conversation today. I can't believe it's actually already the end of the series.
Yes,
Time just
10
went by
weeks,
so quickly.
10
Mm,
weeks, 10 weeks, gone, 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 gone.
just like that.
Just like that. Next up, we have Dr. Rochelle Haynes. And Rochelle is a published author. She's a global speaker, a management consultant, and she's a senior lecturer. She holds a PhD in international human resource management and is the founder and CEO of Crowd Potential Consulting Inc. Her passion lies in applying good people management practices within the growing digital economy, and she has traveled across Southeast Asia, including Indonesia and Thailand, to explore the world's top remote working hotspots. She specializes in she has a term that she has coined called gig HR, and she specializes in that. And what that is, it describes the discipline of using HRM to help companies enhance their working relationship with contract or gig workers, digital nomads, and other offsite stakeholders whose physical contact with organization is limited or non-existent. Thank you, Rochelle, for being with us. We're not hearing you.
Hello?
Yes,
Can
we
you
can hear
hear?
you now.
You can
Yes,
hear me
yes,
now?
yes. Yes, we can hear
Brilliant.
you now. Yes, it's like Verizon. Can you hear me now? We can.
Yes. Yes,
Yes.
good to be back. I think
Yes.
hopefully you can see me as well.
Yes, we can see you too. Yes. And then we have
Okay, good stuff.
You Are the Dancing Queen. Yes, we got the dancing queen with us.
Hey.
We got Veronica.
Beauty.
And Veronica is a deep dive mindset coach. She is an impact course creation strategist and an educator. She has she has had to equip herself with the necessary tools, unearth her hidden treasure, her gold dust, and use her past experiences as an educator to craft solutions that serve powerfully and make a lasting difference in the world. She is the creator of the Impact Course Creation Academy for Fearless Warriors. Oh, yes. Her mission is to equip other light workers, coaches, consultants, and passionate service based business owners with the mindset, skills, and strategies needed to transfer their knowledge, wisdom, skills, experience, talents, and gifts into a meaningful and successful online course. Welcome, Veronica. It's
Thank
so
you,
good
Judy,
to
for
have
having me.
you.
Time has flown so fast. It just feels like
Yes,
yesterday we
10
had our first
weeks.
lesson.
That's right. Seems like yesterday Monique asked me, wasn't that last week? And then we have the money Maven. Yes, Lynn, she's back with us. Welcome, welcome. Colleen is a personal finance and business strategist. She's a philanthropist. She's a Paul Harris Fellow. She's a spoken word artist, international speaker. She's a TEDx speaker, and she's a best-selling author. She is a culture disruptor. She has been an accountant for the past 25 years. She's a certified fraud examiner, a certified financial crime specialist, and a certified financial education instructor. She has coined the term the behavior and money maven, and she has been able to influence and impact over 5,000 individuals through her brand Live Life Free with her training events since 2018. Helene has also facilitated the access of over 1.3 million for her clients as a consultant for the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center in the Bahamas. She is the founder of Amplify Your Legacy, a mindset and money mastery movement that absolutely unrecognizably empowers women and children fearlessly through financial literacy, to ultimately achieve unrecognizable financial wellness, wholeness, and intergenerational wealth. Thank you, ladies. It is awesome to have you here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, like I was saying, I can't believe that 10 weeks just gone. But I thank you for coming full circle with me. Sharing this information has been really satisfying. And my hope is that people use the information shared to get right with their money. This week's session, according to the young people, this week's session will be lit.
I like that.
For the young people. We young, all of us
We're
young.
young. We're young.
We
We're
want
young.
this great today.
What are you talking about? I feel young.
We are young.
Yes, we are. We are discussing a topic that has caused havoc in many relationships. And studies
Yeah.
show that money is the number one cause of contention in marriages, relationships, family, friends. But it doesn't have to be. If you think your money is funny when you're single, just try doubling it and you'll see how funny your money becomes, right? The data shows that 57% of couples do not talk about money before getting into a committed relationship. 55% do not set a regular time to discuss money, and 91% of them find reason to avoid having the money conversation, right? The data further shows that couples who disagree every week over money are 30% more likely to end in divorce. These numbers are startling, and that is why today we are going to break down the entanglement between money and relationships. So I want you to share this video, share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your significant other so that they can take notes. And you also take notes so that you can, I'm sure we'll be giving you lots of nuggets that you can implement right away. So let's get this party started. So I'm going to start by telling you a little thing about me, right? In my first marriage, and if I think well, my second marriage as well, there was no discussion around money. So I am at 57%, right? We discussed everything else except money. We had a discussion about everything else except money. And one of the valuable lessons I have learned over the years is that I must have money values. I needed to understand what my money values are, plus, most importantly, so that we could he needed to understand his money value so that together we could understand each other's money values. So let's break this down because I think we could save a few marriages today, right?
Oh, Judy,
What?
that we're gonna save marriages. I
Yes, we're
like
gonna
that.
save marriages today.
I I love the idea of money values. Really, that's a powerful
Yeah.
concept to guide yourself through money values. Whoever asks themselves, what are my money values? It's not a question that we really ask ourselves. So it's really important that the point that you brought across here to identify what are your money values. So yeah, absolutely, I can totally relate. Money definitely was not a topic entering my marriage. Money was actually, something that came in by itself. It didn't have a structure. It didn't have a plan. And obviously, when the going went tough, it was definitely a subject of great issues, if I may say lightly.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, why? Well, I think we know. I want for the people who might be thinking like money values. What are those? What? Let's break it down for them. What are money values? Um, I know, Kaylin, you want to start, and then we'll go up and back. I can't hear you. We're not hearing you.
She's muted. Oh, no, we can't hear her.
No, we're still not hearing you. So I'm gonna switch to Monique and then come back. Monique, let's talk. What do you think are money values?
Listen, you talking about money values? First of all, let me just say you were in the 57% where before you had your relationship, you didn't talk about money. So was I. So, I mean, I could definitely say that understanding money values was not something that I was familiar with. And I didn't even know, like what Kayleen talked about last time with the money personality, how you typically feel about money and how you respond to it. So the value you place on money in terms of what is it for you? How is it attached to your sense of self-worth or your sense of identity? For me, that's where the focus was. And it wasn't until I started to work on myself, like I shared about getting, more insight into why I do what I do, how I show up the way I show up. Money for me in the past was all about not having enough. You talked about having the money mindset formed before the age of 10. All I know is we didn't have a lot. My mother was a teacher. And when it came time to my marriage or relationship, I was not even interested in talking about what's your money mindset or beliefs. But I will tell you, my husband, he was definitely more aware of where money would slip out, rather than me, because I would say, for example, go to an ATM. I would have my bank card. It doesn't matter if it was the bank where I could withdraw money without getting a fee. I would just go and take the money out because I needed it. It was convenient and it was no big deal. And so I remember him talking about, the fees. And I was like, who cares? Like, I need the money. Like, no big deal. That was just a part of this whole money mindset. So, I mean, he had a little bit more awareness on the holes or how money wasn't being honored or respected or appreciated or valued in our relationship. But as I began to learn more, and let me just tell you, I am constantly evolving in this money mindset process, because even as I grow in my business, growing to bigger levels, there's still different emotions that are attached to that. So it's about really making sure that you are in constant checking in with yourself. Like you're checking in with yourself. Okay, why am I doing this? How is this making me feel? Am I responding because there is a money figure attached? I know when I'm doing work in my business, if I feel like the money is too low and somebody wants me to do way more than what my expertise is, I would typically get upset. Anger would be the emotion. Like, you got to be crazy. Really? Like, for real? No. So, I mean, for me, money was not something that I had a lot of knowledge about, not a lot of interest in learning. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would say that would be one of the things that I would implement immediately from like elementary school, having regular conversations. Now, that's what we do. We have open conversations. We pool our resources. You know, when we first got married, it was like, your debt is my debt. My debt is your debt. Let's smash this thing up together and crush this. So I don't know.
So, as you talk about having money conversations early now, and I know you have a son, and Kayleen, you teach kids how to do this. I mean, how important is letting them know what their money values are?
So the reason why it's so important is because you don't want to wait until you get to a certain age for the evolution to occur. And then it becomes even more, it's harder because you're coming from a place of having a misunderstanding about money. So when we talk about money values, we want to talk about, how do I view money? What is my understanding about money, the way I express myself when I use my money? And so you may think, why would a child need to know this? Let me give you an example. We have situations where children believe, or they believe they're only rewarded with money when they do a particular thing. So you're teaching your child at a very young age. If you say to them, go and pick up my shoes for me and I'll give you $0.25, or smile for me and I'll give you $1. And what happens is, as an individual, you grow up to believe that the only way for you to have an influx of money is for you to perform for others, for you to do for others. But if you have a true understanding about your money value and realize that the way you express yourself through how you spend your money is more about you and not the other person, then we would have a different mechanism of the way that individuals express themselves. It'll no longer be a competition or having a benchmark of success because I have a certain amount of money on my account. It becomes more individualized because we're now aligning how we spend our money with our true values.
Definitely, definitely. Rochelle, you want to jump in?
Sure, I can really identify with a lot of what's said on the panel, and it's something that me myself in early days I didn't really think about money. I think I was quite similar to Monique in that I thought of money when it wasn't there. So in that case, you were forced to think about it because you knew you needed something and you were having a struggle to get it, and it is very I think because of that, and sometimes there's a lot of shame that's associated with that as well, not being able to have what you need in that moment that you need it. So I think I grew up with a lot of shame around not having money. And as a result of that, when I did have money, I was extremely careful in planning with it. So what happened was that I always made sure that I had enough to spend. I always had enough in the bank. I invested. I have had additional pots and so forth. And I always made sure I had a very comfortable financial cushion once I got money. And anything that threatened that created anxiety for me. So I think that was my sort of perception. I became to associate money with security. And where there was any doubt that that security would be pulled away, then I got very, let's say, antsy or anxious about it. So I think in terms of my money values, that was where I went from having this sort of shame around money, but then having money. And although I was careful with it, there was still a lot of negative association and negative emotions attached to having money. I had it now, which was the goal, but there were these negative emotions attached that I'm learning now to shake. And the funny thing about that, the sort of the irony about that is that in those tough times, you learn to do without money. So then you know that you can get by in certain scenarios without money. But now you have it, then there's this fear of losing it, which also can influence your behavior. And similar to you, Julie, I wish I had a lot of those statistics that you poured out about marriage before my first marriage, because money was a massive factor. I wouldn't say too much. I mean, I'm on very amicable terms with my ex-husband, but at the same time, money was definitely an issue in our relationship, and it was definitely a situation of my money and your money. And I think what happened in that scenario is we both didn't have that example of how to think positively around money. We both had the background of not having money and then having money. So then it became this real sort of, well, I need to protect the money that I have. And that really did cause a lot of issues in our marriage. So I really wish, as you said, that I had a lot of those statistics that were out there. And as the others have said, I really wish I had that sort of emotional security around money rather than just financial and physical security.
Yeah, for sure. And that for me is where money values come in. Like for me, money was to spend in the text. That was it. You get it, you spend it, you want the stuff, let us have a good time. And for me, that was what I thought money was. So I'm really, really excited about this. Like really. Um, so as women, I don't know if men do this too, but as women, before we get into a relationship, we have a laundry list of things that we have to have. To be tall, but not too tall, big biceps, all those kind of fancy thing. He must have a smile, he must be this, he must be that. And our list is extremely long. But
Yeah.
somehow, right, we never think to include on that list financial responsibility. We never ever think about it because we need to think about love. What does love have to do with money anyway, right? So, so first of all, do you think that we should create money standards, but not the standards that based on how much money you have in your bank account, what kind of job you have, what kind of car you drive, but ones that's based on the values that we have? Because I think you have your values and you create your standards based on that. So that's the first question. And the second question is, do you think there should be money related deal breakers on our list of traits? So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely start with that.
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about that long list, tall, handsome, masculine, and all those things, my mom always said, make sure that he can take care of you, right? Financially, it was something that was actually on the list, right? So the values that I used to have was money was something that was so disattached from me. It wasn't a part of me. It was something alien, something I had to achieve and work hard for and bring forth into my life and bring into my family and into my work and into my lifestyle. It was alien. That mindset doesn't bring anything fruitful because you're then disattaching yourself from what essentially is a part of you. For me, I also have my former husband, and we've all been through some marriage issues here.
What's wrong with you, ladies?
Moving forward, what is important for me is for the person to perceive money like I do. How do I see money now? Money is a part of me. It flows through me. It is made out of the same essence of which I am made. Money is matter. When you look at matter, I think I spoke about this. I'm a deep diver, guys. I dive deep into the essence. So money is matter. The molecules, all the atoms that makes up this paper is essentially what I'm made up of. So if the same money has the same essence and the same construction as I am, then it's a part of me, just like I'm part of it. And it flows through me, it comes to me. And that mindset, that approach makes money so relatable, so friendly, so loving. And when you have that loving, respectful, relatable relationship with money, you notice how things start to come to you with ease and flow. When you are of service, of course, and you use your abilities, your skills to serve with passion and purpose, money is everywhere. So that mindset is so important for me in any individual that I am with. That should not be a struggle. Money should not be something hard to obtain. It's not something alien. It's something that is everywhere. It's with me. It's in me. I'm part of it. It's part of me. That mindset is so powerful because you no longer worry about it to that degree. And whenever I have to make an investment in myself, in anything that I need or that I want, I'm like, you know what, Veronica? There's more where that came from. And it always happens. It always whenever there's an important investment, I'm like, there's more where that came from, Veronica. Don't think too much about it. And every time I make that investment, it comes back double. So it's really a mindset thing. And I love, Judy, the detox program that you have because it's detoxing all that.
I wish I had this whole mindset thing because, I mean, some of the mistakes, Lord, would have never been made. Rochelle, so I know, right? Like these ex-husbands and former husbands, if we really had this thing, I don't know if it would have been because, like, for me, one of the issues in my first marriage was definitely money. Definitely. And it was just a struggle and I just couldn't be bothered. I just couldn't do it anymore. So, what do you think? What would have been on your list as a deal breaker, as a money deal breaker?
I think the sort of individuality and the clinginess to money would have been a deal breaker. And I wish I paid more attention to it because I think quite early on in the relationship, there were signs and I excused them at the time. But the more and more our relationship carried out, the more and more those things played out, and the more that money really made a difference. It was very much a separation of money, of mine and yours. And even before we really had a discussion, the first time we had a serious discussion, I'll give you an example about money. And we discussed, or he shared with me how much savings he had was 9 years after we dated. And that was the first year into marriage. And that was a big, I don't even know when I look back now, I can now see as I make more sense of it, as I gain more knowledge about my own money values, that should have been a problem. Those sort of issues should have been a problem. So I think for me, the anxiety around money, I think would definitely, that's one of the things I learned is a complete deal breaker for me. And especially where there is this sort of separation, especially if you're going into a marriage where you're saying that you become one, then everything must become one. You become a part of each other, similar to what Veronica was saying, where money, she said, Veronica, you're saying money is a part of you. In your relationship, when you go into a marriage, yes, you're still yourself, but you become a part of that person, your finances, your debt, everything goes together. And I think where there's flags, where you're seeing signs in your relationship that there's anxiety about sharing certain information and transparency, then I think that is a definite sign that you should watch out for.
For real. So, Kaylin, as a coach, right?
Yeah.
How do you? I mean, what do you tell your clients? What do you tell them should be the standards, and what are the things that they should look out for? That they should run, run the other way, quick.
It's ironic that you're asking me this question because in my I am a Catholic by faith, and I've actually taught the finance component of the marriage prep course for 20 years here in Grand Bahama. And so This is something that we do focus on. So the one thing that I say to individuals before you get married is to be honest. Be very, very honest about what you believe money is. Is money success to you? Is money security to you? Did you come from a background of poverty and you have a mindset that what I didn't have, I'm going to make sure that my children have by any means necessary? You need to have the same serious conversations that you have when it comes to if you want children, where you want to live, where do you see yourself in 10 years from now? So the conversation is not different. I don't know why we believe that because money is attached to the conversation, that it should be a unique and a complex conversation. No, it's a simple conversation. It's just for you to truly understand where are you at with your money matters. Do you have debt? Do you believe in debt? Do you have credit? How do you feel about credit? How do you feel about investments? Just have ordinary, very direct, simple conversations about your emotions around money. You know, we really have to understand and really process that statistic about 80% being developed at 10 years old is real. So going back to what Veronica said and just thinking about what Dr. Rochelle talked about and Monique, when you start to really get to the point of self-actualization, which is like at the hierarchy of Maslow's needs pyramid, that's when you start to think back about, well, why did this happen? And where did this come into play? Mind you, it's been there all along. But our first sense of engagement with someone else in a relationship is security. So we don't think about these things. And it's a detachment, as Veronica said, away from who we are and who we are with our money. So if we see the husband as the breadwinner, and we're taught this as young girls to get someone who could take care of you, or even if you're taught to be independent and successful, you still have different prejudices attached to what you should do with your money and how you should do what you do with your money with someone else. Because then there's that separation. What's mine is mine and what's yours is mine. You know, we hear that cliche a lot too. So when it comes to just teaching it, it is definitely being real and honest about where you're at in money matters and being very clear with your non-negotiables. Because we believe that we don't want to say it because it's going to run them away. But the statistics prove that the issue with money is the biggest reason why individuals have challenges in marriages and why marriages dissolve. Because another thing we don't take into consideration when we think about money is how we express our love language. And so I want to bring that up because that's something that we haven't brought up, but how we express our love language is how we connect, how we spend our money. And so if we have the situation where we have to have gifts, then you will have someone who spends money just to fill a void. So if there's a challenge in the marriage, then they now would revert to or fall to spending money. So these are a lot of things that you have to talk about, but there's nothing complicated about it, Judy. You just have to, just how you would talk about non-negotiables about raising children, non-negotiables about your religion, what would you pursue as a family, non-negotiables about you yourself in the relationship from monogamy to whatever it is. You have to have those same types of conversations when it comes to money.
Well, I wish I had somebody to tell me the same thing. Honestly, I truly, truly wish growing up, these are lessons that I knew. So, Monique, I want to know, what are you going to be telling your son? What standards he needs to have or the values? I'm interested in that.
Well, okay. So, but before we go there, let me just say, so I don't have a former husband. I have one husband and we've been together for 20 years. Okay. So
one husband, one wife.
one husband, one wife. So I don't have that the learnings that come from not having my husband with me and that money conversation. I don't know about setting the standards, because I didn't set the standard before. So if anybody finds themselves in a situation where, okay, we already married, we already in this, now what? It's like, just like what Kayleen said, it was so good having the conversations. But I'm in communications. I've been studying this and teaching and coaching this for years. And I will tell you, in my practice, simply having the conversation is just not easy for most people, because they don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. If I ask someone if, what their version of success is, they're going to give me that first conditioned top level answer, which is to get a good job and get the highest paid position in the company. And we all know about the proverbial ladder climb to success. But I have to go 5-10 layers deep about why do you want that? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? For them to uncover the real reason. So I think when it comes to unpacking the emotions around money, it's not even just if someone asked me before I had this awareness and this mindset, what was my relationship about money, I wouldn't even know how to answer. I would have an answer that probably wouldn't even make sense. But now that I am here and I've gone through this, and the beautiful thing about learning and, going through the process of self-actualization is that now I have new information. And if you have new information in your marriage, it doesn't matter if you started off at ground zero. If you continue to go in your marriage and you have the skills of communication, you're going to continue to communicate about the new information that becomes available to you. That's what's been happening in our relationship. My husband may get new information and we talk about it. I may get new information and we talk about it. The example around gifts and the love languages, again, so powerful from Kayleen, because we just had Valentine's Day the other day. I'm not somebody who cares about flowers and gifts. Definitely, if you bring me dead flowers, I don't want that. I don't care about that stuff. And so my husband is actually very similar, and it's about understanding what is most important to that other person. That's the communication piece of understanding yourself and then understanding your partner. The key is having those conversations, but then what should that conversation be structured like? So for example, maybe you could have conversations about, hey, what was normal for you guys growing up? When you didn't have food, or did you have enough food in the house? How did you guys handle that? We both have stories. What was normal for you in terms of who made decisions in your house? Where did you guys choose to go for vacation? Like, who made the choice? Who made the decision to go for vacation? If you went on vacation, who made the final decision about a big purchase in the home? Just sharing those types of openers, it gives you more information into both persons' experience with who made decisions and the money-making decisions in the home. And then from there, you can even dive deeper. So when it comes to my kids, I have 2 boys. The oldest one is 20 and the youngest is 14. So when it comes to my kids, I am trying to make sure that we are talking openly about everything. We have family meetings. We have family meetings on things that we catch up with in general. And then we have meetings where the whole sole purpose is to build connection, communication, positivity amongst everybody inside the family. So we have different type of meetings and we bring up those conversations. And my eldest son, he's on his own. He's living on his own. And so we have had conversations around, okay, how much should your electricity bill cost? Like, these are things that we don't hide from them. My youngest son, who's 14, he knows how much a house costs. So if someone asks him on the street, how much do you think that house costs? Most children will pull a number that isn't really close to the reality. My son can actually tell you, looking at the house, looking at the number of rooms or bedrooms or whatever have you, just estimating realistically how much it should cost. So these type of conversations are things that we're having quite often, and we planning out, He earns his allowance. He has his own little side business with his branded t-shirts and stuff. And so he's very keen into how he's spending money and how he's earning money.
This is amazing. Listeners, viewers, please, I hope you're taking notes, because this is really a new era. It's a new time. So we really do need to teach our kids so that they don't end up. I mean, you don't want, it's just like I'm saying 50 years from now, I don't want my girls to be marching for, Women's Day and to equal rights. And no, we need to do something about that now so that they don't end up in that situation. So please, viewers, this is really a deep conversation. Take notes. I want to talk about infidelity.
Ooh.
Financial infidelity. Listen.
You got
I'd be
it,
like,
Benji.
wait, let me go on mute.
Financial infidelity. It's a term that a lot of people don't know about. Really, right? Everybody know about the other infidelity. But I believe, though, that financial infidelity causes a deeper erosion in family, in relationships. I really think it does. Um, and what I know for sure is that when a couple argues about money, it's never really the money that they're arguing about, but it's more the values, the mutual consideration, and the personal control around money. Right? So this is where everything comes back to values and having that conversation. So Kayleen, tell me, what's financial infidelity, girl?
Well, we the most simplistic definition I could give is, especially in a relationship, is saying or committing to doing one thing with your money and you deceive the other person by doing something else with the money. And so it's basically just not doing what you would have agreed upon to do. And it is so, I want to take this back, and I'm going to always keep taking it back, because we need individuals to really assess where a lot of their decisions may be coming from while they hear us have this conversation. But a lot of persons and a lot of decisions that we make are centered around emotions like guilt and shame and resentment. And we don't realize that it manifests in how we actually spend our money and what we do with our money, and even the insight that we have when it comes to what success looks like, what does wealth look like, what does abundance look like, even having that scarcity mindset that when I take this and spend this, I'm no longer going to have it. And so it goes back to what Veronica said, when I make an investment, I know it's going to come back. So to tie this back into the financial infidelity aspect of it, a lot of individuals who would probably do that when it comes to a relationship and with their spouse, where they're deceptive with a money decision that was not agreed upon, it's because, and then they hide it, it's because they may have come from an environment that didn't have open communication about changing your mind. A lot of times we believe because we've already made a decision that we cannot now change our mind. And I love what Monique said, when new information comes to us, it's an opportunity to now rediscuss what we have already committed to. And then another form of financial infidelity would be the stealing from Peter to pay Paul. So if I am the person in the relationship who would be the one that spends the money or pay the bills or is tasked to determine where the dollars go, at the end of each month or at the end of each pay period. And my spouse trusts me with that. And I deviate from whatever the norm is without having a conversation. It could be something simple, but it's not the reason that I've created financial infidelity, that I did something else than what was agreed to. What the core of it is, I didn't have the conversation with someone that I say that I love. Why is it that we hide away from or shy away from having those conversations? And so that financial infidelity is something that has a vast spectrum. Yes, I gave a very, very simplistic definition, but we have to also understand that the root lies in the fact of some sort of manipulation, dishonesty, deception. And we must understand too that not talking about it is also a form of financial infidelity.
For real. So, ladies, when you see you buy those pair of shoes and you put them in the
Yes, and you
car
hide it in your
without,
back
you
trunk.
hide it in your thing, and then you
Yes,
bring in one foot, and then
one at a time.
yeah.
Yes,
Trust me, that
So
is definitely financial infidelity. Yeah,
yes.
V?
I can totally relate to that and understand that. Looking at back in at my past, and I don't remember exactly any financial infidelity as given in the examples, but certainly other types. But what I was about to say was, how do you really avoid that moving forward? Looking at the lessons that we've learned from the past. One value that I hold strongly now: I'm not coming into a new relationship half. I'm coming full. I need to have emotional security on my own. I need to have that mental security on my own. I need to have financial security on my own. I'm not going into a relationship to fill in some holes. I'm not going into a relationship to fill in some kind of void, which I have. Having learned from my past, being now that mature woman who is aware, who's conscious, I'm entering a relationship whole. I am entering a relationship financially free, independent, emotionally independent. I don't need anybody to make me happy. I don't need anybody to fill in some kind of financial void. I'm entering a relationship because I want to. I'm entering a relationship because I want to be with you and not because I need to be with you. This is such a powerful mindset shift for me personally, because it wasn't always the case. And this transformation to who I am today has a lot to do with how I see and perceive and understand and value money. If I lost every single thing today, guys, I could recreate it again. I remember standing in front of the pawnbroker shop over 10 years ago. Nothing to my name. And that feeling, who are you after you've lost every single thing? You don't have the finances, you don't have nothing, you're almost losing the roof over your head. So if today, I'm being very daring right now, if today I lost like everything, I know I can recreate it. And that is a powerful mindset to come from, that money is everywhere. You lose it, it will come. You need to be smart about it. You need to be conscious. You need to be creative. You need to be aligned with your truth and serve from a space of purpose and passion. It's everywhere. So I'm entering a relationship not to fill in voids where financial infidelity may occur. I'm entering a relationship full, whole, because I want to, not because I need to.
And
And
that,
I want my daughter to also have that mindset. And when she's entering any form of relationship, she's entering full.
and that I think is really important. Two half per people can't make, no, it don't work. It can't work. It does not work.
Yeah,
You have to be whole to
yeah.
make it work. So
That is a valuable
yeah,
lesson. Oh my gosh, really, like, oh, it's a life changer, like life changer.
it's really is important. But I want to know, like, so Monique, as a, and we keep coming back again because the answers just seem to all intertwine, right? How can we avoid being repeat offenders?
Hey, so you have to take into the aspect of reflection, and it has to be intentional. I talked about the book that I wrote, Judy. You and I know about that intentional motherhood, who said it would be easy. But the thing is, if we're not self-aware, we run the risk of leaving ourselves vulnerable to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over. And so it's almost like you have to rebirth your money identity. You have what you had in the past, but now, okay, so let's say you're listening to this conversation right now and you're like, okay, that's like so many things are resonating with you. And so you have to think now, okay, based on this exposure that I'm having to this conversation, what do I need to do? How do I need to sit down and reflect on how do I make decisions around money? What do I feel about money? Reflecting on the last time in the last 7 days, maybe that you gave money away or, received money and how you received it, just really getting intentional about your relationship with money and then thinking about what were the mistakes or challenges that I made and what's the lesson in it? What is the lesson? Using your intentional imagination to think about the lifestyle that you want to have, the lifestyle and the relationship that you want to have with money. Just imagine for a moment that everything that you need and everything you desire, you already have it. All the money that you desire, you already have it. It's already there. Now, what would you do? How would you behave? How would you show up differently? So, in terms of avoiding mistakes, you're going to need to look at those mistakes and sort of become Inspector Gadget, looking for what's the lesson? What's the lesson? What's the lesson?
Mm-hmm.
Then you want to, talk about it. Talk about it like the way we're talking about it, but talk about it with other people. We have friends that you've been friends for over 30, 40 years, and you don't talk about money. You don't talk about the relationship you have with money. So begin to normalize talking about it, how you feel about it, what mistakes you made, form your mastermind about it. But the key is activating the reflection and the imagination. Those two faculties in the communication sphere of who we are as humans, that's going to help us to see things differently and choose new behaviors. It has to be with intention. If you're just going to sit down and watch the show, you could watch the show. You could get shelf help. Okay. You watch it, you put it on the shelf. You could get the shelf help. That's not going to help you. You have to have an intention, and it doesn't matter how small it is. It could be, okay, I'm going to share this video with someone and we're going to talk about it together. We're going to talk about both of our money situations, or I'm going to download the Credit Karma app and I'm going to look at my credit and I'm going to, what's your credit score? I know what my credit score is. So now we're intentionally breaking down the fears or the shame. Kayleen talked about that emotion, the shame. Oh my God, the shame. I remember a time in my life where I say, you know what? Shame is such a powerful tool. And when you can take that and you hijack it, oh my gosh, you have freedom. And I remember saying to myself, there is, I don't want to have anything that I am ashamed of or that I feel like I am hiding. I don't want anything. And so I would intentionally find people that I trust and I would lay it all out on the table. I don't care if it made me look like Monique the dummy. I don't care. I would lay it out because I already knew what it was going to do for me emotionally. And I already know it was going to open my heart up, open my sphere up. It was going to help me become more confident because there wasn't anything that I was hiding or ashamed of. So those are some of the steps I would say to begin avoiding repeated mistakes, but it has to be intentional.
I know one of the things I never used to do or always felt funny doing was when people had money for me, I was always afraid to ask them, like, but now it's like, I'm just reminding you kind of thing, because it was just something I always thought, well, if you have it, then I it. I never felt confident. I never felt good. It wasn't a good feeling. I don't know what emotion to attach to that, but it wasn't a good feeling for me to ask. Uh,
Fear.
well,
It
I
was
guess.
fear. That was the emotion. You were scared to ask for what you wanted. That's what I help women with all the time in coaching. You were scared to ask for something that belonged to you. And so the same thing that we see with the money behaviors personally, it spills right over into business. A client owes you something, you scared to follow up. You're pricing. You scared to charge your true value. I've been through all of
That's
this. I'm
real.
speaking from experience. So,
That is so real. That
I'm,
is
I'm
so
telling you.
real. Yeah,
So
it is.
intentionality, learning, implementation, and then you get to that point where it's like, no, ma'am, you need to pay in full, or this project isn't starting. That's it.
Mhm. I
So
hear you. I hear you. What are some of your lessons, Ro, that you would have learned to, like prevent you from being that repeat offender of making that same money mistake? Because the thing is, people make the same money mistakes over and over and over. I mean, what are some of your
Yeah,
your
yeah,
lessons
yeah.
learned?
Okay, the first thing I would say, I would agree with a lot of what was said already on the panel in terms of reflection. I think that's a big one for me. Get to know yourself. And if you get to know yourself, then you get to know what you think about money, how you understand money, and what you get out of money. If you don't understand what you're getting out of money, you're constantly pursuing it without knowing why. And a lot of people use money to try to fix brokenness. Money is not just, some people say, okay, well, I need money because I need to get the thing I want. But why do you want that thing? Go further behind in your reflection, dig a bit deeper. So similar to what the others were saying, with going under those layers and try to understand what the money does for you, so you know why you are craving after it so badly, or why you're craving in the first place. So one of the things I would say is to get you to know yourself, particularly within the context of a relationship. I would say, Veronica said something earlier in the context of a relationship. Don't come into a relationship half, come in as a full person. I think there's another part to that as well. Don't try to fix anybody in a relationship as well. If you have somebody with a bad mindset towards money and you see that, don't try to correct that. Maybe you get to understand it, you get to understand why. And maybe you can pass on some nuggets of wisdom. But if you see a glaring problem with regards to how a person handles their money, then you need to stop and decide, okay, where do you go from here and how do you address that? And whether in a personal relationship or a business relationship, where you see those red flags come up, you might need to say, well, hey, we can't go any further here. Hey, this is what we need to do. We need to stop on this project, or so forth. Whereas you blaze past those red flags. And I know a lot of people, sometimes myself, I can be an empath in that way, where I see, okay, this person is struggling with this. And I know it's because they've had this past experience, and that's influencing why they're behaving negatively. I'm going to work with that because I understand they've been hurt in the past. So therefore, I'm going to see what I can do to make them feel better. That is all well and good. That's all well intentioned, but you really stand a chance of I don't think burdening is quite the word, but hitting a blank wall sometimes. In some cases, you see that transformation, but if there's a brokenness there and you're continually seeing patterns that reflect that, I would say don't try to fix. Maybe you understand it, but you can't fix people. Don't try to fix people. You can help people, but don't try to know your limits. That's the better word to say, because I'm not trying to sound cold, but I think it's really important to know your limits where that is concerned. The final thing I would say is my perception and my view of money, quite understanding that I can do with, I do fine with money and I do fine without money. One of the philosophies I have about a lot of things now is I very much go by the law of attraction. And how you think about money will determine whether or not it comes to you. So if you're very negative about money, if you've resigned to the fact that you've come from a poor background and your family's always struggled, I'll give you an example. I knew someone that used to say, I can't remember if I said the last session, someone that used to say the rich will always be rich and the poor will always be poor. And that was the mindset that they went with. And I think they quoted the Bible. They tried to use the Bible and say, well, this is what it says. So there's nothing I can do. And that person always remained in a situation where they were financially struggling. So where you have these negative mindsets about money, it also determines whether or not money comes to you. Different opportunities present themselves to you. And also when those opportunities come to you, whether or not you're able to take a hold of them or grab onto them as well. So very much in terms of my perception and my views and my lessons about money, I think those are the top 3 for me.
Okay. So I just want to remind our listeners, if you think the poor will always be poor and the rich will always be rich and money is not for you, just check out my mindset, my 30-day money mindset detox program. Yeah?
Yeah.
Hear this.
Yeah.
I love this song that says, love and marriage goes together like horse and carriage. But
I love that.
we know that love should be the basis for marriage. But we also know, because we have to be very realistic, we have to be very truthful about things. Sometimes money trumps love. It really does. Right? And we have a situation too where we stay in the marriage for the lifestyle that it affords us. We're unhappy, we're unhappy, we're unhappy, we're unhappy, but we remain because I don't know. I mean, I could drive the fancy car and live in the fancy house and go to dinner and do whatever, but I'm unhappy. I want to know, what are your thoughts on this? And this question could go anyway. Any
Yeah.
way this question could go. So just jump in and let's
Yeah.
discuss this. Yeah, go for it.
Definitely what came to my mind straight away is, in any relationship that thrives from love, from the foundation of love, the intention must be to grow together. Grow together, grow emotionally, grow financially. I like to see it as 2 free birds in love. They're not caged, they're not limited, they're free to fly, but they fly together. They fly together, and sometimes they fly in the same direction, but they're always flocking together because there's that foundation of love, but they're free to grow together. For me, this is the foundation of any thriving relationship, where we both have the intention to grow together, not limiting one another, not feeling like we're caged or trapped or forced to be or do something where that's not aligned with our truth. We're free to be who we want to be, have what we want to have, and do what we want to do, of course, in the concept of a relationship of love. So yeah, for me, grow together. And if that means financially as well, grow together. You both have that mindset. So we don't have the imbalance of mindset and of values. One solid foundation of any thriving relationship is to have similar values. Because if they're so much misaligned, there's going to be a clash somewhere. He doesn't feel this way, I feel that way. And somebody's trying to change somebody. Like Rochelle said, we're not trying to fix anybody. We can't control. So it's important that there's a balance between the values that we share together. And one of my most highest values is freedom to grow. So moving forward, let's grow together.
Okay. Anybody? Monique? Unmute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah.
I love that so much, Veronica. The intention to grow. I feel like that is just a solid foundation when you're thinking about who it is that you're choosing to partner and what that intention is for both of us as individuals. Like if we have that solid commitment to grow and that is coming out of love, then I think everything else will fall into place. And then even from that growth aspect, breaking that down. So what are the behaviors that we are committed to in growing? And like you said, in any area of growth, financially, spiritually, emotionally, as long as we are committed to that aspect of growth, I feel like that is also a solid foundation. Personally, when I think about love, I like to use the biblical definition of love, with it being patient, kind, considerate, exercising self-control, not really keeping a score of wrongs. All of that is being committed to growing, really. And I think if we have a common understanding of what love is, some people feel like, oh, love is just when I feel good about you, or I'm only going to support you when you do X, Y, and Z for me, or I'm not happy with that decision that you made, so I don't love you today. Not today, sir. But here's the thing with that is conditional love. When we are committed to supporting each other and growing, it's like that agape love where you give someone what they need even when they don't deserve it. And we're committed to doing that for each other. So if you have that first initial commonality of what love is, what do you think love is? What do I think love is? What can we agree to commit on in this relationship? What are the behaviors that we're going to commit to? When I wrote my book, I talk about likes and loves. I talk about the things we do when we like ourselves, when we like our partners, when we like our children, and when we love them, because we are moving from doing to actually being. When we like our partners, we have conversations about bills, kids, and stuff, work stuff. When we love our partners, we're having these type of deeper conversations. We're talking about our values. We're talking about our dreams. We're talking about our fears. We're talking about our aspirations. If your partner doesn't know what you desire in your life, you're still in like status. You're still in like status. You're not yet in love status. And if you are not aware of where you are in your own life, if you're on that wheel too, just doing, and not using your language to have boundaries, that's in like. When we love ourselves, we are choosing to have boundaries that give us freedom. So for me, it's about having that understanding of what love is and identifying what those behaviors look like, and making sure that you have that committed understanding. And then you're also committed to the check-ins, because let's just face it, if your husband tells you he loves you today and he doesn't tell you until December 2021, you're gonna be like, what's up with this dude? So you have to have your frequency of check-ins. You have to remind yourself and each other where you stand. You have to reevaluate, just like a business. If you have a business, you have information. You could look at your statements. You could check in. You could see your marketing results. You have to have check-ins for your relationship too.
Boom, just like that.
I love. I have to jump in here, please. I love what Veronica said, and I love what Monique said. And, we have to understand too that, and I go back to the original question, sometimes we marry each other based on subconscious traumas. And we don't understand that we truly are not authentically in love. And so I love that Monique pointed that out. I love what Veronica talked about growth. So maybe we may believe to say, if that woman is just in it for the love of things, and the husband is there to give her things, that's reciprocal. No one is higher than the next. We may believe that she's getting away and she's using him, but there's something deeper in him that makes him want to continually do it. But I love that you could move from the place of liking each other in that circumstance or in that environment and move to the spectrum of true love, where you're now able to grow from it, admit it, look at your traumas together. Why is it that we do this dance together when it comes to our money? And we can now be able to have the boundaries in place so that the freedom can come from what we truly can do as a whole individual. Because sometimes we marry as a half individual or a quarter individual or just a broken individual. And we don't realize that those things impact the way we deal with our money, with ourselves, and with our spouse. And so I just love exactly what Veronica talked about, from the foundation of love being an ability to grow together. And then Monique talking about the true agape love that now would expose us to be able to have the hard conversations, to strip ourselves, to be authentic with each other and vulnerable with each other. And that's where the magic happens when it comes to these money conversations. And you will see real wealth and real abundance, and you will see growth and you will see success, because you're now able as two whole individuals to define what it looks like for you as a couple.
My next step in, I stepping in whole. Ladies, this is on fire. I'm telling you, this conversation is lit. Really.
Yeah. Lit. I tell you, we're young.
Dramas. Imagine that. Jeez, Rochelle. Rochelle? Rochelle, are you
Sorry, I
hearing
couldn't
me?
hear you just now. Could you say
No,
that
I
again?
was saying jump in. I was
I'm
saying
hearing you
jump
now.
in.
I'm hearing you now.
So jump in.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed you there. Yeah, I mean, you guys are preaching. I feel like I'm being taken to church in this session, which is brilliant, because I've seen that, where, as you mentioned, that need, as Veronica said, to come in to a marriage as a whole person. Because if you're coming in as a half person, and that person is coming in as a half person with their deficiencies around their money mindset and otherwise, then that marriage is missing a lot of information that would have been there if you came in full capacity to actually have a marriage, and in full capacity to actually contribute to what each other needs and to each other's desires, and to learn about those individuals as well. So I think really alignment of your money mindset within a marriage is crucial, and that's going to very much determine how you see money being used in that marriage, and how do you see money being expressed to the other person as well, whether or not that's through gifts or otherwise, but also how you communicate with each other and the respect you have with each other towards that marriage and towards your money. So I do see that need to be whole and transparent as crucial and number one, but also that need to be trusting, to just really come with the mindset of, you know what, I'm going into this as a full human being. I'm giving my no pun intended, my other half. I'm giving my husband or my wife my whole self when it comes to my money and who I am in this marriage. That's going to make all the difference. Now, where you have alignment of that thought and also respecting the boundaries within that relationship, then that's going to make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I also like to hop in there.
Go ahead, V.
Yeah, so where do we really draw the line? Because we talk about boundaries, and then we talk about love being unconditional. So where is the thin line between setting your boundaries and conditional or unconditional love? Monique.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I just want to make sure that the point is very clear that I am not talking about abuse. I'm not talking about abuse. And abuse is sort of like a manipulation thing, or it's a thing where you are self-sacrificing. So when I am talking about having that boundary and having that unconditional love, it's really that place of setting parameters the same way that you set your standards. But again, coming into this understanding, knowing that, okay, we're not perfect. And so I don't want to hold someone to unrealistic standards that I myself can't be held to. So I can tell you just from coaching some women that I hear it often. This is the laundry list of what my standards are. And what I often do is I take that list and I say, now let's go through it. Tell me about what you do here, what you do here. Can you do this? Can you do this? No.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it's like when I say unconditional, that unconditional is framed with the awareness that I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not expecting myself to do. That's the one piece.
I love that because it reminds me of the law of proportional standards. We cannot go as deep as, or we can't take people as high as we have reached ourselves. We can't take people higher to the standards of which we haven't reached ourselves. So absolutely, I love that. That's why for me, it's so important for there to be a balance between giving and receiving. There has to be a holistic flow of energy where there's giving and there's receiving. You're giving and you're like, oh, this fireball. Oh. Yes. Love it.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
We're
love it.
And
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree with that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Rochelle.
No, I was saying I would agree with that as well, because where we have that shopping list that we post to our partners, a lot of time we're projecting a lot of insecurities and anxieties we have in ourselves, things that, let's say, we ourselves haven't been able to conquer or achieve. We now have this shopping list that we expect the other person to have mastered. So often where we are saying to people, these are my standards, this is what you have met, often is because of that insecurity that we haven't fully addressed in ourselves as well.
Agreed.
Which brings us, and we're going over, but this is really nice. Which brings us to a topic that, for me, is really, really important, because a lot of women experience it and they don't know what it is, and that is financial abuse, right? And it is as real. I'm telling you, it is as real as there is physical and emotional abuse, right? I was going to put Kayleen on the spot. I'm not seeing her.
So you're on the spot now.
So I wanted to find out. So what are some of the signs? What are some of the signs you think that of emotional financial abuse? What are some of the signs that tell us, scaling your back? What are some of the signs that tell us that we are being financially abused?
Wow, financial abuse. You have blatant financial abuse, and you have subtle, subliminal financial abuse. And so let's start from the subliminal, because that is one aspect that a lot of persons do not look at. So if you're in a relationship where, as a female, you may be at home, you may not be working, no income, no business, and you're fully reliant on your spouse, your husband, to provide for everything. Now, when they start to use money or what they do for you as something that is, it makes you, it puts you under duress, where if you do not do this thing, you won't get this. If it's used as something where it is a punishment for you when it comes to purchasing something, or you have conversations where you have cliche statements where they say, if you're a good girl, this is what will happen for you. You even have financial abuse based on how it's said. A lot of us don't understand it. And a lot of us may have become numb in a relationship where it happens because we feel that there's no out. We may have children. We decide that we are going to stick it out. And you also have financial abuse where you have the provider only providing for the child. or the children in a scenario where the wife should also be involved, but they ensure that they don't get any benefit from it. And so that is from the subliminal side. And then you have the very blatant side of financial abuse, where you may have a situation where all of your income, if you have a business, if you have revenue, if you have a salary, goes into your spouse's account and you have no input on how it's spent. And so you literally have to follow whatever the spouse or the husband is doing with the money, even though you're actually contributing from a financial point of view. So you have no financial input in reference to decisions when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to investments, when it comes to any kind of financial decision. And the young man just asked about financial abuse when it comes to men. It doesn't make a difference which gender it is. If the wife is the breadwinner or the chief earner, she can also use it as a tool to abuse her husband. So it doesn't change because of gender. It talks about the behaviors that the individual exhibits, where they show themselves on a hierarchy where you're over the other spouse when it comes to any money decisions that may happen, whether you are the person that brings in income, where you have combined income, where you have just one spouse bringing in income. You're not having any type of communication, and only one person is making the decision, and the decision does not benefit the overall union. So financial abuse is simple, where money is being withheld from you. And then you have the subtleties, where it's used as a subliminal tool to manipulate the other partner.
Woo! Lord
Yes.
Jesus, Lord have mercy.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
That was some preaching. But a
Excellent.
lot of women and men don't really know that there's a term for it, and this is really what it is: financial
Yeah.
abuse. So Kayleen has given us some really good signs to look out for. So ladies and gentlemen,
And men.
Yeah, yes.
look out, be on the lookout for those signs,
Yeah.
But what can we do?
And one thing I also want to add, because that young man made that comment, what some women do, especially if she is a powerful, independent, successful earner, whether it's in corporate or business, and say she is the chief breadwinner, she would also dehumanize or demean the male or the husband by saying things that would also cause him to feel as if he is less than. So, for example, if they were to go grocery shopping together and he is now wanting to purchase rack of lamb, she may make a comment or a snide comment that says, "You don't have rack of lamb money." So she may think it's a joke, but that's financial abuse. When you use your words, that's financial verbal abuse, verbal financial abuse. We have to understand that money is not a separate experience from all of our experiences. How you do one thing is how you do everything. And so if you're verbally abusive and now you add the component of money to that abuse, that's financial abuse. So it's still not just what I talked about, but even if there are snide comments or situations where you are not even a part of a decision, even though you're a part of decisions in other matters in the family unit, that's also financial abuse. We have to understand that it doesn't matter whether it's, from your perspective, 10% or 100%. Abuse is abuse is abuse, regardless of the Richter scale that we try to use. And once we're trying to manipulate someone else in the partnership and withhold from them or harm them or use it as bait to cause them to do something, it's all financial abuse.
Yep.
Those
Ooh,
signs,
Jesus.
those signs, all the signs that you've mentioned, that those are like red flags that either you shouldn't be in that relationship, you need an exit plan, you just stay away, because that kind of abuse only comes from a soul which is not enlightened. Like there has to be some dark clouds to be able to be so manipulative and so abusive. There have to be some really foggy, things in front of your eyes. An enlightened, self-actualized person with a mindset of growth dare not abuse or manipulate anybody that way. So if you find yourself in such a relationship, this is a big yellow flag, if not a red flag, that even the capability of somebody to control you in those ways that you've mentioned, Kayleen, that's not where you're supposed to be.
Mm.
And you can't change people, like you said, Rochelle.
You cannot. I want to say that what Kayleen talked about is very common in the islands. I know many. I could call many. I know many people who have been and are still in financial abuse situations. And I want to say, we hear the word abuse and we feel like, oh my God, that's so like, that ain't me. That just ain't me. But the reality is, if we really peel back the onion and we do reflection, we will observe that we display similar patterns of manipulation. May not be financially, but it may be in other areas. Kayleen said abuse is abuse. How we do one thing is how we do another thing. Think about your children. What type of language do you use with them when it comes to money? You ain't working. When you get a job and get out this house, you could buy that. Okay, so we laugh about it, we joke about it, but we have to be aware that these are the similar words when they get older and they hear those repeated joking phrases that has been deposited in their mind. It's been conditioned in their mind and it becomes a part of their identity, that if they're not intentional in reflecting and unpacking, they run the risk of doing the same thing to their own children. So I say, when it comes to the word of abuse, don't get scared. Everybody who's listening, don't get scared, because manipulation happens everywhere. You see it in business where someone feels as though because they are paying somebody or a client may pay you. I've experienced this before. They feel like just because now we have exchanged money, it means that you need to answer me whenever I send you an email or call. That's the boundary situation or conversation, right? That is a power dynamic when money is exchanged. And so, no, that doesn't give you the power to control me. You invested in a service. So I think it is very important for us to embrace and let everyone who's listening know, if you find yourself in a situation, don't blame yourself. Number one, you may not have been aware. This is new knowledge. This is new information. If you find yourself doing some of those behaviors, chances are you learned it from somewhere. You learned it from where you were exposed prior to the age of 10. So you are probably operating out of a default. We're not going to blame your parents either, because they did the best they could with the information that they had. And so if we're ever going to move anywhere forward, we have to ensure that we're not blaming anybody for their ineffective ways of connecting and relating with money. There's no shame here. If you find yourself in that situation, know that now you can get help. You can be empowered to choose a different way of being and connecting with yourself, with your partner, with your children, with your employees, and with your friends. That's my 2 cents.
Woo.
Definitely. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, look at what is happening. Look at what you're doing, what your partner is doing, what the situation is, and see if you fall within any of that. And if it's a situation where it's just, maybe you need to do a deeper reflection and see, is this where I I should be? Is this where I'm meant to be? Is this the relationship that I really want to be in? Evaluate it from the love standpoint, from all the things that we have spoken about already. I really want to touch on money and divorce because it is really, really important. It is important. And for a woman, we women are affected most financially. Women over 50 affected the most financially from a divorce. 41% women household go down by the household income goes down by 41% following a divorce after separation at 50, while for men it only drops 23%. Right? To me, this highlights the fact that women, and we as women, we need to be better prepared financially. Right? So what are some of the strategies? And I'm gonna direct this to Killing. What are some of the strategies that women who are over 50 and divorced can can put in place to ensure their financial stability?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
I
So,
know, I know.
so I am going to start from the perspective of already being divorced and what strategies to implement. So, the strategy that you would need to implement is definitely number one, you have to be intentional about where you're at with your money matters. And so now you're no longer in that relationship. You have to look at, what do I have in my resources to manage, and to look at how to manage those funds. And then if children are a part of that conversation, you have to now look at, what do I need to do to stabilize myself to ensure that the security of my children is in place. And so you have to be very honest about that. Then you have to look at, what do I need to do from a income point of view, a revenue standpoint, to increase where I'm at, so that I now am able to take care of my responsibilities. So sometimes when we walk away or we have a divorce, we going back to these emotions that cause damage in ourselves and what we do with our money when we walk away from a relationship, when we experience a divorce. We have resentment, we have anger issues, we have bitterness, we have shame, we have anxiety, we have depression, we have sadness. We now need to look at what our bigger why is. Yes, that happened, but do not sit in the emotions that we would like to take away from that situation. We now need to say, okay, look myself in the mirror, look in the eyes of my children, whether if we have dependent parents, and that would now cause us to ascend to a higher why, so that we can create a strategy or a foundation with our finances at where we're at. And then you look at what you need to do to supplement it. And you have to be very intentional about these things. You have to figure out, do I want to just wallow in worry and all of those negative emotions? Or do I truly want to now be a warrior, a WARRIER, and know that I need to take handle of it? You must do it. It's a mindset thing, because before strategy can be created, we have to make a decision in our mind that we believe that we can implement or find the help to create the strategies to solidify where we're at when we now come out of a marriage, when we now become divorced. That's the first thing. And then the second thing, as I said, you identify what your needs are. Start from a point of needs. Who are you responsible for? Then also do an audit of what you have, your income, your revenue. And the third thing is, do I need to get help? Get help. Do I need to now create new resources to expand my income? Do that. When you start to move in that direction intentionally, you're able to put aside all of the negativity that will cause you to have an unstable foundation. Because if you keep worrying about that, you're definitely starting off where you're going to have an unstable foundation. So those are the 3 quick strategies that I would recommend for anyone that sees themselves in that position.
Absolutely. Just to add upon that, looking at my journey to that fearless warrior I speak so much about now, it happens definitely in stages, and it started happening even before the final breakup. It happens from a state of numbness. You become so numb, like you said, resentful, like you don't feel anymore. But it's acknowledging that, you know what, you need to discover yourself or you recreate yourself once again. And that means getting in alignment with who you are, what change you want to see in your life, what change you want to see in the world. And now, how am I going to do that? What are the tools with this? Where do I need to seek help? Right? What do I need to up level? What are my skills, my passion, my knowledge that I can use to up level my game now and take responsibility? Because at this stage, it's 100% self-responsibility. And it's our responsibility to take ourselves, leverage ourselves, and become those fearless warriors. But it does come in stages, like Colleen said. And embracing each stage, not being hard on yourself. Understanding that you're going through a phase of, evolution, of recreation, and it's a powerful evolution to go through, and you need to embrace it and experience it, because you look back and you say, wow, yes, I have come far. So it's a beautiful thing to experience.
Definitely. Yeah, Rochelle, I see you shaking your head. Tell me.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head because this is so fresh. I asked for, I'll just give you a little background without giving you, like, pouring my whole story out there. But my divorce, I asked for a divorce 2 years ago. And I remember before I asked for that divorce, I struggled with the decision for at least a year. And my struggle was based a lot on the question of, I'm throwing my future away. That was my belief. I thought, you know what? I built this idea of my future and what my life would be. And I am living that. I'm in this very unhappy situation. But yes, I'm financially stable. And if I upset the apple cart, I got to now think about moving house. I got to now think about reviewing my future plan. And that was so scary. And it was heart-wrenching and just the anxiety around it. But after I made that decision, it was like, yeah, I won't lie, I wallowed, but not very long. I'm always very solution oriented, and I am a planner. So anything I do, I plan for it. So from the time I asked, I started planning. I started planning for a new place, and then I sat down, and I sat down similar to what Veronica and Kayleen were saying. I sat down and wrote a plan out. I wrote a budget out. I put, okay, what are my yearly expenses? Do I have any debt? What skills can I now leverage to bring in additional income? I already had a secure job, but now I was thinking, well, I'm now losing one. I'm losing a part of my household, so there's additional responsibility I might have to take on. And with that, it was, as you described it was a new journey and becoming aware of just what you are capable of. Because I think I doubted, I don't know why, maybe it was just being in the situation for so long, you start to doubt what you're capable of. And I saw myself as not being able to do it. But then after starting to see it happen, where I'll give you a good win for me, where within a year, when I put that plan together, I said, okay, you know what? In order I'm going forward on my own, I don't want any debt. And I put a plan in place. My debt will be gone in 7 months. And I stuck to that plan. My debt was gone in 7 months. So there was an additional burden lifted off of me. So like what Veronica was saying, I looked back and I saw, you know what? I felt like in such a fragile state when I was making this decision. But no, now you look back and you think, I did that. I did that. Why was I struggling with this? So I think we really
It gives you more confidence.
yeah, you become aware of just how powerful you are, and
Yeah.
that life goes on. I think that was the biggest lesson for me. My future did
Mhm.
not end with my ex. Life goes on. I have a future independent of my marriage, independent of my ex, and so forth. So that was pretty
Mhm.
powerful for me, just realizing what I'm capable of.
And
Yeah.
I think that when you make that decision, you almost become liberated. It's like something just
That's the
lifts you,
word.
and
Yeah.
you find ways to really, like you say, you plan and you find ways
Yeah.
to make it work for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know that we're way over, but I can't end. We're coming to an end, but I want to wrap up with money and family, because I think that it's really, really important. You have family, you have where it's a lot of siblings, but the burden only falls on one or two of them for the aging parents. And we have a foolishness in the Caribbean where we say, my children are my retirement. That drives me crazy. It drives me crazy because, listen, your children have their own family and so on to take care of. So, but I think the biggest burden really is caring for aging parents. And we ain't planned for it. Them ain't planned for it. How can we do it if, I mean, what can we do to ensure that the burden is evenly distributed
Mm.
among the
Yeah.
siblings?
I've got three sisters, right? And so I'm the youngest. Then I have Aneta, who's the eldest, and then Monica, she's the second born. So I'm the third born. And when our dad passed away over a year ago, we came together and like, okay, girls, what are we doing about this? Because we needed to send the finances, we needed to help with the funeral arrangements. We were all the way here in the UK, my sister in Poland, my mom alone in Ghana. So we came together and we joined forces to make this work. Having that ability to communicate with our siblings and sharing the role evenly, if possible, right, is such an important ability, because not everybody has that communication skill to really talk about finances and how are we going to support each other. I always have this dream, of helping my mother and my dad who passed away, but now my mother, I have this passion. I want to take her here and take her there. So for me, it's not really a burden. My mom was the one that she brought me up, she gave birth to me. So yeah, there is a mindset of giving back, but it doesn't have to feel like a burden. It has to come from a space of, you know what, this is my mom. And she helped me when the going was tough, and I want to give back. So that is another driving force for me in my business and growing, evolving. I want to have that extra freedom to really do what she wants and what I want to give her. So I have that internal kind of thing with my family and what I want to give back to my mom, and how she helped me and how I can help her back.
Which is true. I would love to. When the world starts turning again, there are things I want to do with my mom. But
Yeah.
there are situations where you have the parents become sick, there's elderly care, there's all of that thing that's happening. And then it falls on only one sibling.
Uh,
I think that is where I'm coming from. So
mm.
how do you think that we can ensure we can make this happen, Rochelle?
I think there needs to be very open communication about that, because you may have a scenario where, let's say, two of the siblings might be in a much better financial situation than one of the siblings, or one of the siblings might be in a much better than the other two. And where that is the case, I think there needs to be an open communication about what you contribute to that care. So maybe it is that some person can contribute financially. for this particular thing, whether or not that's healthcare, tests, whatever that might be, maybe the other sibling can contribute in another way, maybe in personal care, in companionship, whatever the case is. So where you have that open communication, and where if your circumstances change in that communication, you reassess and see, okay, have your circumstances changed? Maybe you couldn't contribute in the past, but now you can contribute a little more. Or perhaps even having a scenario where you contribute according to your means, so in proportion with your means, then I think that breeds that sort of bitterness. It takes away that sort of bitterness that might come if one person feels that the burden lies to them. But where you have an understanding of how each person is contributing, and you're remaining open with that communication, and especially if things change, and then maybe persons take up different responsibilities as they can. Once the communication, when you're very open about it and honest about what you can actually take on, then I think that would help in a scenario like that.
Kayleen?
Yes, Judy, I definitely agree with what with both Veronica and Dr. Rochelle said. So if it comes to the point of view of the actual care of it, and you need to have that communication. And if that communication does not allow your siblings to open up and contribute the way they should, and as Dr. Rochelle said, it doesn't have to only be monetary. You could have other forms of currency that you could use, relational currency. You could look at long-term planning where they can contribute to items where it's in the future. Because yes, we may become caregivers of ailing parents or aging parents. That does not say that they are going to be gone today. And so you could now look at a 5-year, 10-year plan that now can fall in the other siblings when they get to the point that they can contribute at that financial level. But if it comes to the point where you're the only one that has to take care of the person, this is where you now start having the conversation with your children. Because sometimes in order for us to break these generational cycles, we still have to carry the burden from this side of the generation, but now teach up to our children on this side of the generation. And so that is just something that has to happen. And you have to be very open about the communication. Now, here's the one thing that I do want to point out, because I believe in energy. If in fact you are the sibling that has to take care of the aging parent, and you may feel that other siblings are taking advantage of the situation, know this: do not hold on to bitterness and resentment, because that now contributes negatively to the overall situation. And when that sibling may be in the position to now meet and contribute, they may never contribute. And then you're also carrying that energy and interacting with the parent that you're caring for. So what would be your reason? Are you genuinely caring for your aging parent at that point also? Because sometimes siblings have variant positions when it comes to their finances. You may look at another sibling and say, oh, that's your mother. Oh, that's your father, you should contribute. Or looking at them and saying, oh, you make 6 figures, and not knowing the background information about the dynamics that's going on with each individual's finances. And so you must take it and approach the situation with love. You must be very open with the conversations on both sides. Be very intentional about what that conversation is about and what the future would look like. But more importantly, you must extend grace, because we are now shifting and disrupting the cultural norms that have existed. And in order to do that, you do not want to take it by force, because now you create another layer of confusion. You want to take it and move through with ease and grace, so that you could truly be an example now for the next generation when it comes to that. And what you need to do, if you're the caregiver, know you're getting older, put your legacy estate in place. So it's easy for us to talk about the siblings not doing, and then we turn around and do the same thing to our children.
Definitely.
So it's all
Definitely.
an evolution with many different areas, but at the end of the day, it goes right back to communication, being very intentional and open about it, and then moving forward with a plan that benefits everyone involved.
Woo! Yes. Yes, ladies. Thank you so much. So this is where we wrap up. So do you have any last words, anything that you want to tell our viewers to help them navigate their relationships, whether it be relationships with friends, relationship and money with friends, with family, with spouse, with what?
Yeah.
Let's give them some parting words.
My last words would be whatever you do, however you do it, whenever you do it, come from a space of love. It's an energy thing. Money is energy. That's all that it is. It's nothing other than energy. So let's experience it. Let's give it. Let's receive it. Let's share it from a space of love. That's what it boils down to for me.
Yep. Thank you. Deep dive coach.
I'm always going
Rochelle.
Yeah, I would say try to encourage transparency. Let's stop making money a taboo topic. So let's get to the point where we are speaking openly and freely about money. So be willing to be vulnerable in those conversations about money. Don't let it be a dirty word anymore. And then by that, you'll find that you're able to uncover and unlearn and unlearn those bad habits and relearn new habits and new, more positive ways of thinking. So I would say, try to be a bit more vulnerable and be more open and find persons that you can really have that deep dive with, whereas your money is concerned. Start there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Money.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Same. I just echo what the ladies have already said. And I will just say, if you have listened to this and you found yourself in a situation where, oh, I'm not really checking those lists and I'm not in that space right now, I just want you to know that it's never too late. It's never, ever, ever too late. If you didn't do it before your marriage, if you didn't do it in the first 2 years of your marriage and you're in year 15, it's never, ever, ever too late. So you could begin now. You could begin today. Don't feel embarrassed about it. All of us have gone through it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And so just like what Rochelle, take that next step, instead of, using it as a dirty word, take that one step today and have a vulnerable conversation with someone about money coming from that place of love.
So my final
Right.
parting words is, so for friends and family, do not lend what you cannot lose. That's the one thing that I want to say, because now that creates other issues that can be fully avoidable. And then from the point of view of a marriage and a relationship, I echo what Monique and Dr. Rochelle and Veronica talked about, where it can start today. Once you make the choice to do it in love, to take the taboo out of the topic and just really explore it and just have those intimate conversations that talk about what we did as a child when it came to money and what our dreams are, and be very vivid in that vision on where we would want to go when it comes to our money. So those are my final thoughts.
And my final thoughts are this: go into your relationship as a whole person.
Yeah.
Don't leave one and go into the other one. Take that time in between there to heal.
Yes, that's
Know
it.
who you are.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't, because let me tell you, you're gonna end up in the same position
Yeah.
Yes.
like that first relationship. So
Totally
take the
true.
time,
Yeah.
take the time to heal and have discussions with the woman in your circle. There's nothing wrong, because if you have that circle and it's a trusted circle, chat with them about money. There's so many, women. We are A lot of us are in similar positions. if you just open your mouth, you will realize that, um, oh my God, she's in the same position. What did you do?
Yeah.
Or they may have
Yeah.
gone through the same thing. What did they do
Yeah.
to come out of it? So let us not behave as if, it's pornography, because it's not. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
money, it's energy. Let's have those conversations. So, ladies,
Yeah.
thank you,
Oh,
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been awesome. This has been a really
Yeah.
energetic, exciting, I mean, information packed episode. So thank you. And to the viewers, to my viewers, to our viewers, thank you. We are grateful for allowing us into your space for the last 10 weeks. I want to encourage you to watch these episodes over and over again. So they are on my YouTube channel, Judy McCutcheon. So you can go over, you can subscribe. More information will definitely be shared on those channels as it relates to finance, more tips and so on. Whether we have a season 2, I don't know. That's left to be seen. But thank you so very much. And please don't forget to like, comment, share the video. And please follow all of us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and IG. We are all there. Just look for our names. You are going to find us. We are there. So follow us, get information. Each one of us gives some really powerful information on all our social media platform. And if you want to learn some serious dance moves, some serious African dance moves, let me tell you, you know who to check out.
Oh yeah, we are definitely, we all dance together. That's how we vibe. That's how life flows through us. That's how we, re-energize ourselves.
Yeah,
This is a
that's
good thing. I
that's
don't have
what
my
we do.
my sound system connected. I've played some jams, but it's almost 11 p.m. here.
So thank you very, very much. Um, I am Judy McCutcheon, and I thank you for joining us. This is a wrap, and we'll see you around. Take care.